everybody. This is Alberto Kennedy, aka Grimoire. Um, Today's video is going to be talking about something, it's a bit deep, so bear with me. I have my notes right here. I've been meditating a lot and exercising a lot and trying to get those pounds out, trying to shed those pounds. And during my meditations and my walks and my work, my inner work, I've been noticing and feeling a lot of negativity. And I'm going like, where is this negativity coming from? And this negativity is aggressive. Upon further meditation and checking myself, seeing if maybe I'm generating this negativity and whatnot, it turns out I'm not. And it turns out this is something, this energy, this negative energy is prolific. It's everywhere. This negative energy is anti-spiritual. It's anti-positive. It's negative energy. It's anti-positive. It's toxic. And it has a number of names to it. In Mexico City, they call it la mala vibra, the bad vibe. That's the pet name they call for that negativity that is so palpable. It's like spiritual oppression. People who sense this or are affected by this are usually awakened, meaning they're spiritually awakened. Their psychic ability is active. They're empaths. They're intuitives. They're psychic sensitives, and even people who are not psychic. Everybody's psychic, but that they're not actively using their psychic abilities. They're just very intuitive. Regular people, psychics, and everybody is sensing this to greater or lesser degrees. And so I'm going like, I need to know what this is. So I went onto the astral realm, and yes, this is a strong energy, especially right now in this era, 2019. And so I'm going to go into it. This is anti-awakening energy and how to fight against it. Anti-awakening energy is mass negative energy that opposes any and all types of positive energy. It's the opposite of spiritually awakening. That's why it's anti-awakening energy. It's anti anything spiritual, anything uplifting, anything that moves you. Anti-compassion, It's just dark, and violent, because it's violently opposed to our spiritual evolution and violently opposed to anyone that promotes spiritual awareness. So that's to say that if you are the type of person that likes to donate your time to charity, or a type of person that helps others in any way, shape, or form, you're going to notice a pushback. You're going to notice that you may see it as, wow, I'm going through an extremely bad luck, a streak of bad luck. I'm things is happening, just out of the blue, random things that are happening to you that are negative. Especially when you're trying to promote positivity in your life and help other people promote positivity in theirs. You're going to notice that this energy is not going to be pleased with you, and you will be targeted by this energy. Now, to understand anti-awakening energy better, we need to understand what awakening energy is. Awakening energy is humanity's spiritual awakening from a limited three-dimensional concept of who and what we are. So when you're awakening spiritually, you'll start understanding and acknowledging instinctively. This is something instinctively that just happens. That you're more than the flesh. You're more than this. You're more than wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get ready for work, go to work, come back home, fix yourself dinner, fix the kids dinner, watch a little TV, go to sleep, then repeat. You're more than that. There's more to life than the material. There's more to life than just work hard, get paid, pay bills, sleep, eat, crap, do all this, and you're more than that. You're more than a material routine. You're more than a means to a transaction. There's more to you than that. You are light. You are part of an infinite light inside. And when you start acknowledging, wait a minute, I'm more than this. There's more to life than this. And then comes the thirst for, well, if I'm more than this, what am I more of? And then you start searching spiritual doctrines. And there's many spiritual doctrines out there. And you look outside the orthodox for answers. Well, then you're spiritually awakening. You're understanding that there's more to this than just this. And when you start experiencing your spirit, experiencing who you are on a spiritual level, you're actually acknowledging that you're a spiritual being in a physical form. And the physical is prone to decay. All things physical are prone to decay. The material world is prone to decay. But we're more than just a spirit. We're more than just the material. The spirit isn't prone to decay. The spirit is everlasting. Your spirit is everlasting. So that's when you're spiritually awakening. And then when you're open to these things and when you understand these things and when you accept these things, that they ring true to you, you're open to a lot more light than you once were before. Well, there's this energy that doesn't like that. It wants you to sleep. It wants you to sleepwalk through life. This energy doesn't want you to understand that you are more than what this is, or this is. It doesn't want you to understand that you have a role to play on a spiritual level, not just a physical, but a spiritual level. You are more than a nine to five or a job. You're more than paying bills. You're more than what you think you are. Well, this anti-awakening energy doesn't want that. It wants you to sleepwalk. It wants you to be a zombie of sorts. And if you break out of that, it will stop at nothing to put you right back in. Anti-awakening energy is a living energy that violently promotes adherence to orthodox things and punishes you if you step out of what the norm is. And the status quo is, like I said before, you're just human, you're imperfect, you will work hard, and you will do what you need to do to pay your bills and survive and eat and find what mirth and what joy you can within the limited amount of money that you receive for your work done. And after many years, you die. Well, you're more than that. Life is more than that. There's a spiritual aspect to you. The anti-awakening energy doesn't want you to experience the spiritual awakening. And this negative energy, this anti-awakening energy is, like I said, prolific. It's strong right now. This anti-awakening energy, you can see in different forms. And for example, have you heard that adage, no good deed goes unpunished? It's an old adage. It's an old phrase. I've heard that a lot. No good deed goes unpunished. Whenever you do something positive for someone or whatnot, and then something happens where it's thrown in your face, or it's ill received, or you're punished for doing something good, like the people in Florida, for example. I think it was last year, that they were feeding the homeless, and they were arrested for feeding the homeless. Wow. And that's true. Google it. That's an example of anti-awakening energy. When you're doing something positive and you catch shit for it. And that's just one manifestation of anti-awakening energy. Um, Another form of anti-awakening energy, these are very known. I'm sure you'll know one of these, or if not all of these. Persecution. When you are being persecuted because you're just you. A group of people got a bee in their bonnet, and they don't like how you're living your life. So now they have to make your life virtually impossible because it makes them feel better, and they are somehow, they justify it through their religion, they justify it through their supremacy views, either way, they're trying to stop you from living your best life. That persecution, that's a form of anti-awakening energy. Divisiveness, when groups of people, or a power structure, if you will, tries to divide people, discouraging unity, which is a management tactic in most corporations. They want to divide and encourage divisiveness with the employees because they don't want them unifying. Union. Control. When you find yourself being manipulated or controlled by a person, place, or thing, control is another form of anti-awakening energy. Bigotry, racism, dependency on religion, and the subjugation of spirit to deity or deities. This is important because in some Orthodox religions, you are imperfect and you are expected to subjugate yourself, prostrate yourself to a supreme being. That's not spiritual evolution. You are a part of that supreme being. So why would that supreme being want you to bow down to it if you are a part of it? That's where it gets tricky. And a supreme being, the problem with supremacy, if you are worshiping a supreme being, then supremacy sooner or later becomes a coveted state of being, which means you will try to emulate and be like that supreme being. And supremacy, by our human interpretation of the word, means that if we are to be supreme, we must subjugate those that we see are not supreme because they are beneath us. When in fact, we are all one. See the disconnect? That's a powerful Machiavellian tactic used by that anti-awakening energy. The perpetuation of fear. The demonization of others for being different. Mass violence towards others for being different or not believing in what they believe. These are all forms of anti-awakening energy, and it stifles our spiritual evolution as a species. Many people say that we're supposed to be evolving, and we have in fact evolved in terms of technology, medicine, and we have made great strides, and yes, that is true, and that cannot be disputed. However, we are also meant to evolve spiritually. If not, we are just savages with manipulating technology. We haven't evolved spiritually, and we need to do that. Spiritual evolution is key for our continued existence. Um, One thing here I'd like to mention is, how does this anti-awakening energy, which is a living being, it's not just an energy, it's sentient, it knows what it's doing, how can it affect us if most of what I just said is part of the human condition, right? And it's true, it's part of the human condition. That can't be disputed. But on a spiritual level, we can be inspired, we can be manipulated. I've long said that humanity's apex predator, it's not just the negativity and the evil that we are capable of, but it's that force that can inspire the negativity we are capable of. We forget that actions release energy, and the energy of those actions inspires and perpetuates the same action spawned by it. So that says that everything we do, our actions, gives off energy. An act of kindness has a ripple effect. So too, acts of violence have a ripple effect. And those ripple effects perpetuate the same energy that spawned it. Violence begets violence. Love begets love. Kindness begets kindness. Now imagine millennia of that energy of our actions growing, unchecked, becoming sentient. That's the same recipe of a poltergeist entity. A poltergeist entity is created through our psychological and emotional interpretation of our experiences or our traumas. Once those energies aren't dealt with or resolved inside here, they take on a life of their own. And then they can affect us adversely. So too with our actions. Our actions creates energy. This energy, after a while, becomes a complete being, a living being. Now imagine, since the advent of humanity till now, the beginning of humanity till now, everything that our actions and that we've put out, this entity energy, this anti-awakening energy, it's on spiritual terms and paranormal terms, it's a possibility that it does exist. Now, I believe there are two forms of the anti-awakening energy. I'm giving you the anatomy of this anti-awakening energy. There is one that is a sentient energy that feeds off of our discord, our violence, our negativity. Just as there are entities and energies out there that try to uplift and inspire, there's other entities that does the opposite. Now, that is mostly created by our psychokinetic energy, or the energies released by our actions over a millennia of generations, over the beginning of the human species till now. The other is a lot older. The other aspect to anti-awakening energy is a lot older. And it is completely averse. It is not in agreement with the spiritual evolution of our species, or your evolution, or your spiritual evolution. So when you're doing good things, when you're helping people, when you try to share your knowledge, or when you try to help other people in any way, there's going to be that pushback expected. Unfortunately, it's very strong right now. And since I got that out of the way, I wanted to share with you. I want to share with you how to counteract it. How to counteract anti-awakening energy. Stay grounded. When I say stay grounded, know who you are. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But know who you are. Know what you're capable of. Know your limitations. What you're capable of and what you just can't do. Because it's not who you are. Knowing who you are prevents you from being manipulated by anything. Try not to personalize other people's negative energy. And this is hard for psychics and empaths because we are absorbing constantly. When you're going through a depression and yet everything's coming up roses in your life, and you're in a happy place, yet you're feeling depressed. You feel this wave of depression and you can't shake it. That's when you have to go inside yourself and you have to realize, is it you? Or is it something you may have absorbed from somebody else? Is it an entity around you? Banish it. Know who you are. Know your emotions. Know your psychological state. Take inventory of you internally. Understand you are infinite and you create your reality. You are infinite and you create your reality. Meditate on that and what that means to you. Do not engage with hateful people. I was recently walking to the store. I left my mom at the bank, and the bank people, they love her there. They said, "Oh, please sit down. You know, yeah, sit down," because I was going to go to Walmart real quick before we got the bus to pick us up to take us home. And the lady's there. "Oh yeah, have your mom sit down here. You go do what you want to do, and then she'll be here safe." Okay. Well, when I was walking to Walmart, this one homeless guy, all of a sudden, chose me out of all the people walking into the store, chose me out of a sudden and started hurling expletives and called me the N word, the F word, and just this hate out of the blue. And he looked like he was going to jump. I had two reactions at that moment. I was like, this fool's going to walk away with 3 shoes. 2 in his feet and one in his ass. Right about now, basement status, it's going down. Then I thought, okay, hold on. You could do that. Or you could take stock. Take a moment. This person is homeless. This person is obviously unhappy. This person is a vessel for some kind of hate that he directed at you for a specific reason. I have a home. I wish I had a little bit more money, but I'm doing okay. My bills are paid. I'm helping people, healing people, helping myself. I'm a caregiver. I bring joy. I bring light. If I were to get into a little Donnybrook with this person, I would put myself in jeopardy of losing everything that I have for somebody that obviously has nothing and is desperate and is a vessel for something that's using it to promote hate and discord. I can't allow that to happen. So I looked at him, I shook my head, and I walked inside and I spoke to the manager and I said, "There's a homeless individual outside who is hurling obscenities. He called me the N-word. I need this handled so I don't have to handle it myself. Thank you." They did. Um, I'm happy with how I handled it. The part of me that's a little bit more savage isn't, but I'm going like strategy. Strategy. So I impart that wisdom to you. Don't be easily baited. Usually the people who bait you into a physical altercation doesn't have anything to lose. You do. You making them famous. Don't 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 do that to yourself. Also, the best weapon the anti-awakening energy has at its disposal is your ego. Our ego is responsible for at least 75% of the damage we do to ourselves in life. Our ego. Check the ego. Have you noticed that a lot of these stars, when they start off waiting tables, these actors, they start off waiting tables, grinding, hustling, doing what they got to do until they get their big break. And once they get their big break, they're a different person. They are arrogant. They are feeling that this entitlement that they never had before, but only because they had a success and they have accomplishments and achievements under the belt. All of a sudden, they somebody different. That's ego. They're 100% ego. Not all of them, but you can tell who's running on pure ego. That's toxic for your spiritual evolution and your spiritual growth, and toxic to those around you. And you're not being your most authentic self. Like Paul Mooney said, you'll never catch a Brinks truck following a hearse. You can't take it with you, boo-boo. Meditation is an excellent way to neutralize the anti-awakening energy. Meditate. And when you meditate, access your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, which is the deepest part of your mind. It's where we create narratives. The narratives that, for example, what creates a narrative in your life is what experiences do you have that you carry with you, and that colors your judgment, the way you look at people, the way you look at the world. That's a narrative. For example, if a person was born into abject poverty, that's all they know. That's all they know. Poverty is normal to them. And when you develop a have-not mentality, and when you develop that have-not mentality, you perpetuate it unconsciously. So it's a cycle. It becomes a cycle. And then it becomes a generational cycle because that's your normal. You've unfortunately and successfully created a narrative that you will always be poor. You will always struggle. You will always have to survive. And anything that counters that is dismissed. Anything, if you get a chance to change that, but if you're stuck in that narrative, you will dismiss those opportunities to change your narrative because your narrative is safe, it's normal, it's what you know. When you go into your unconscious, which perpetuates that energy around you, you can neutralize that by meditation, saying, I change my narrative. I will not promote cycles in my life of poverty, sadness, loneliness, being a victim. I refuse to do that. I no longer need that. That is no longer my narrative. That is no longer my normal. And when you basically say that as a mantra before you go to sleep and when you wake up, you're programming yourself, and you're programming your unconscious mind. And your unconscious mind can no longer be manipulated or used by the anti-awakening energy. You close the door on it. Don't let your negative experiences define you. Um, that's a hard one. Because I've always thought, well, are we not the sum total of our experiences? True, but let's get deep. Why can't we take the lessons from our experiences, learn from those experiences, whatever we need to learn from them, without being defined by them? My negative experiences do not define me. Just because people hurl obscenities at me, or they're unhappy with my sexual orientation, they're unhappy with my pigmentation, they're unhappy with anything about me, and I've experienced that over my lifetime. I choose not to be bitter. I will not let them win. I choose not to be bitter. That hatred and that intolerance and that violence is not me. That's them. That's their ball of wax that they have to shape into either a candle or whatever. But that's their issue, not mine. I will not let my negative experiences define me. So the anti-awakening energy can't use that against me. On the psychic level, the best way to protect yourself from anti-awakening energy is mirror strategy. Meditate with the mirror in your mind. I mean, it takes a visualization. Close your eyes and see yourself surrounded by mirrors. So anything that tries to attack you or send energy your way, it's reflected right back to them. Spiritual cleansings, sage, palo santo, any black salt, which that's my personal go-to. I love it. It's kind of a nuclear button, when you use black salt, but I use it for everything. I don't got time for this. Not today. I use it. If you're gonna go big, right? If you're gonna go big, go big. Do something. And understand, just by understanding something, that empowers you. So understand that you are part of and one with the infinite light, or the creator source, or God, if you will, whatever you want to call it, but you are one with it. You are not a servant or subservient to it. No, you never were. You are a part of it. And by being a part of it, you naturally banish negativity. Understanding that, meditating on that, programming your unconscious mind to perpetuate that narrative is very helpful in repelling the anti-awakening energy. I wanted to share this information on what's going on the spiritual side, especially in this era, especially at this moment in time. If you encounter anti-awakening energies, now you know how, you know what it is, and you know how to counteract it. You're worth it. You matter. You're not crazy. And let's all bring light to dark places, because the anti-awakening energy hates that. So let's do a lot of it. And I hope I did with this video. More videos coming soon. Let's all bring light to dark places. Thank you. Goodbye.